It's agenda date, time, and location were properly announced. Can you hear us? Are we on? Okay, forgot to check on that first.
Going up.
Okay, we'll start with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 21st, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Matt, is there a second? I'll second. Jennifer? Any questions or corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the amount for December in the amount of $854,694.15?
Motion.
Chuck, is there a second? I'll second. Jennifer, any questions? For discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And do we have cash summary? Yep, there it is.
I just want to kind of bring your attention to athletic admission. One of the things you're going to see through the budget, and we're doing our mid-year check with Patty later on, that admission is actually from a WIA event from how many months ago that we got paid? A couple months ago. So one of the things we're finding in our budget for this year is we aren't charging any admission, even because we have just like 2 spectators per athlete and per performance. So one of the things you will see is a reduction. So I just want to kind of share, this is actually from last year. This year, we're at 0 right now as far as athletic admissions. So one of the things that we weren't prepared for with the whole COVID thing, Patty's doing a heck of a job dealing with it and transferring some other things, but just to kind of put that on your radar right now.
Any questions?
Is that typical across the state or just for our conference or capacity?
I would say for the conferences that are actually having events, because there's a lot of them that aren't, 1 or 2 spectators per athlete is pretty standard. Some are charging the 2. We just decided, you know what? Sometimes you have to choose between grandma and grandpa or mom and dad going. We're happy we have people in the stands. So, and then, you know, when you start taking money, you have other things to worry about disinfecting the money and all those other things. It just didn't seem like the juice was worth the squeeze.
Thank you.
All right. Donations.
Yes, we all know Mr. Wills, and I found out that the Short Track Hall of Fame donated $500 to the FBLA. Mr. Wills does a lot of work, and his hard work actually goes into our kids, and we go from there. So you can hear? Okay, now you can hear. There you go. Sorry, my little group of virtuals couldn't hear me, so I got you now. So thank you, Mr. Wills. That $500, when you see some of the big TV monitors around the hallways, that's the FBLA that does that. So just another way where he's off doing this work and he's finding ways to help our kids, even in his side hobbies. So we're lucky to have Mr. Wills.
All right. Comments from the public? I didn't see any on the sign-in. You don't have any? All right. Good deal. Building reports.
Okay, you're gonna bring up the. Okay, I have you off of mute now, so and you can hear me, so that's a good start. There we go. Go ahead.
All right, are we ready?
Good.
Okay, you can hear me? All right, so I'm going to start out between Sandy and I with our strong classrooms. So our end of the first semester ended last week, Friday, and I would say all in all from elementary up to high school, we had a pretty good end of our semester. and ended strong that way. So now today was the first day of second semester, and we're excited to get that underway. Our mid-year diagnostics using ExactPath. So this is third grade through seventh grade that will be doing the winter diagnostics with ExactPath. We typically do eighth grade for the fall, and then we'll do eighth grade in spring. But for the winter, it's just the third grade through seventh grade winter diagnostics. So that's been underway starting last week and will continue into this week. So this will be data that we'll be using as a part of each of our grade level and content teams working through as they look to for instructional planning and how to keep supporting our students moving forward with their growth. So I kind of combined 2 points there, examining student data for instructional planning. So this ExactPath data is really crucial as a part of that instructional planning. For the winter diagnostic for eighth grade, they will be taking the ACT interim test. So for the first time last school year in January, eighth grade took the ACT interim, and they've really found that data to be very helpful with helping students to project out where they might be with their proficiency on the ACT as juniors. So this gives that benchmark for our students as they enter high school. And then each year as our 9th and 10th and then juniors take their ACT, they're able to see that growth compared to their benchmark that they'll take here next week with the eighth grade. Preparation for access testing is underway, so that will be in full go mode for our students with English language learning needs. And that'll be taking place over the next couple, probably 2 to 3 weeks. And Sandy does a lot of the proctoring with our English language learners. So we'll be working through those, that access testing. And then lastly, high school course selection process will be beginning. So this Wednesday, the students will be watching a video made by Julie Hausner, our school counselor, regarding the course selection process. They will be watching that during academic resource and asking any questions that they have, just getting prepared for what are those courses that they would like to be looking to take for next school year. Then I think it's next week, Wednesday, Julie then will be opening up the window in Infinite Campus. And on Wednesday, they will be selecting their courses that they would like to be taking for next school year. So that is underway, and the middle school course selection process will start then in February once high school is all done. I'm turning it over to Sandy.
And I'm going to have to turn it back over to you in just a second. The elementary has taken advantage of virtual assemblies this year. And through our PBIS, we welcomed on our first day back on January 4th, the NED show, and that regrounded our elementary students in our PBIS process. And the focus of this show was on kindness, kind of like pay it forward and thinking about the other person. Here's where I'm going to need Susan to fill in a little bit. Students of the quarter in the high school and the middle school.
Yeah, so at the end
Yes,
of
we have them. Yay!
Yeah. At the end of each quarter, our teachers nominate different students that they've seen growth in a lot of areas. Just not academic progress, but they're just seeing growth across the board with respect, responsibility, being safe, those things. And so right now, our students of the quarter are going to be showcased for middle school in a video that's being put together by Mrs. Rogers, Pam Rogers, school counselor, and Mrs. Peterson, Andrea Peterson. So we will be showing that to the students coming soon, I believe this week, and during academic resource time to celebrate the students and the good work that they've done. And in high school, they had 20 different students nominated by various staff for students of the quarter, and they were selected today. Mr. Lucas made the announcement at the end of the day. I wrote their names down because I didn't want to forget for the board meeting, and it's sitting in my office, not with me right now. But very excited. All of the students know that who were nominated, but it's just a way to kind of keep that going, that to let the students know we care about them and see the good work they're doing.
And your concert?
Oh, yes, the high school.
Too bad, yay!
The high school band concert was just recently videotaped, so we will be showcasing that. That'll be coming out on YouTube, and we're also going to include a link for that in our upcoming parent newsletter that'll be going out this week. So that was exciting that they could get that done.
And I kind of have one that combines our strong culture and our strong community connections. We are starting to prep for our 4K registration for the fall, and we tend to do that in February. And what we are doing is we are putting together a video that is going to feature what the RL Advantage looks like all the way across the district as we welcome brand new parents to the district in our 4K registration process. Also, we have got a rollout of our Schoology parent portal coming out. There's been some classes that have been soft rolling out the use of the parent portal, and it is now going to be rolled out with some how-to videos that were done by Steve Wills, and I believe Haley's also done a translated version of it in Spanish, so that we can roll out the parent portal for Schoology in grades 3 through 8. And last but certainly not least, consider this informative and an invitation. Our PTO, in conjunction with Texas Roadhouse, is doing a 2-night fundraiser, January 25th and 27th, at both the Sheboygan and West Bend locations of the Texas Roadhouse. 10% of all dinners served dine-in or carry out that night will go to the Random Lake PTO in support of our student activities. So sorry, Susan, you had the heavy load on this one, but we've only been back in school for about 3 weeks now, and boy, that's a lot of stuff that we've got going on.
Great. Does anyone have any questions?
I just have one. As far as the high school course selection through Infinite Campus, has it always been done that way, or is that new? Is that kind of streamlined?
So the question, if you didn't hear it, is for high school course selection, has it always been through Skyward or Infinite Campus, or is that something that's new?
No, that is not new. We've been using Infinite Campus for course selection for a few years now.
And another question regarding that, is the block schedule going to be the same as, like, you know, how this year it's a little different? Is it going to be the same next year then, or what are they doing with that?
So in case you didn't hear the question, is the block schedule going to look different next year, or is it going to be the same as it was last year? What would thoughts there?
So with the block schedule, so previous years, it's always been the A-B rotating block schedule. This school year, due to the pandemic and other factors, we went with a daily block schedule as a leadership team. Now, right now, the plan is to go back to the A-B block schedule, but we thought this would be a good time to get feedback on both schedules. Now that students and parents and staff have experienced both schedules, we thought we'd do due diligence to get feedback from those stakeholder groups. So actually, starting tomorrow, the students will all receive a survey regarding the block schedule to get their input. Staff is also getting a survey tomorrow on the block schedule.
I agree.
And also just think of in talking indirectly with other members within other communities or school districts. Most all of them don't have such an item, and they're getting along with the full 5 days and full-time school. So I'm leaning toward, my thought would be that we've had enough of those, but that's just my decision based on the input.
Right?
Is there a survey to students on their preference? And
The surveys went out to students tomorrow. It was part of the survey that we did the larger piece. So once we did the larger, it didn't go out. So that's why I had this on here. We will have that probably by the end of the week, but we didn't have it for today's meeting. So
have the AR Fridays been helpful for kids that are struggling with D's or F's, like our teachers reaching out to parents on those Fridays and making phone calls and making sure that, you know, they're getting them up to speed in what they're supposed to be doing? And
our special ed teachers contribute the grades for their students on the AR Friday. In some ways, they said, especially for high school students, we've never had such a carrot and stick to make sure that they get their work done. So because our teachers are working with those students that aren't passing classes on those days for a little more than half the day, and then they're using some of it for planning. So I'd like to see what the success rate was for the broader population. But I can tell you my experience, when you're having success with our students that have the most difficulties in school, that means there's other good things happening in other areas too. So.
Well, one of the concerns we had when we started this was our teacher burnout and things like that. Are we looking at just being in that same position if we don't continue this?
There's that, and I think it's also contact tracing. So the individual that we were positive today, because of how it fell, only it had fewer, because it was one of the days that person would have been positive, would have had a contact on Friday, because didn't get actually symptoms until later. So that's part of it, and it is, you know, we're asking now as our numbers get up to 16, 17, up to 20%, we're asking our staff to really do double duty. So there's some districts right now that are considering taking virtual, that hybrid off because it's too stressful for staff. And in our conversations, I think this is something we need to offer until this is gone. And I don't know what that looks like when COVID is gone. So we are asking our staff to do double duty, and that's as much for the staff to make sure that we don't miss our hybrid and our virtual students. I know we're doing a great job with our kids that are in the class. It's harder to do that access, and those Fridays are times to make sure that we're hitting them too. So, and not putting all that on the backs of the classroom teachers.
And I know what you're stuck on when it's gone. We talked about it in our previous meeting, and one of our breaking points is you have the option to get the vaccine. Whether you get it or not, that's no longer our liability.
in talking to parents of younger children, they find it frustrating to try to find daycare on those Fridays, you know, but you also have all of your high schoolers off on Fridays as well. Have you thought about any sort of option for them to connect so they could find some daycare services from a high schooler, perhaps, if you're going to keep doing something like this? We've actually, and I have had it out there a couple of times, we have reduced costs for our daycare is open on Friday and actually has room. And because I hear that a lot, we don't have daycare. Our daycare is open and there's availability there. And we actually cut the cost in half. So if you are a student here and need daycare services on Friday, you can do that, and even that hasn't seen numbers increase. So I don't know if that's just not widely known or it's not a viable option. I'm not sure, but I know Chris is over there just saying, hey, we have plenty of room, come on down, you know, we'll help with homework, we'll be part of the virtual learning, and we haven't had a lot of parent takers. I know in the past when I had my children had daycare, then you had to sign up. If you signed up for Fridays, then you'd have to do all Fridays, and then, you know, you were kind of locked into a certain period. I mean, is that still something?
No, this would be just for I mean, if you want to do it, just so we know for staffing reasons, like, hey, I need this for as long as we have AR Fridays, we're not going to charge you when we're back to 5 days a week. No. So there wouldn't be any locked in pieces with that.
You know, unfortunately, in this situation, the end of the do, the end of the don't. One way or another, someone's going to be upset. And my counter to the individual that had the AP student, well, the counter to that is that my child who is struggling is doing a lot better now because she does have that extra day on that Friday. So whatever decision we make, it's pretty much going to tick off half the people. It's just what it is.
Well, AP is such an intense course anyways. Do they have assignments on those Fridays to be able to keep up with that curriculum? Because I know they're pushing it to make that May test anyways.
And it would be, I'm not in the classes, but I know our AP teachers are highly motivated, and you know, if there's one area, if we find out if there's learning or not, is AP, because our students take the tests in spring and we see if they've learned the knowledge, and it's you have to hit things lock and step to get there. In my conversations to that email to other AP staff, they're not feeling that they're missing, that they're getting those. Now, we'll know more this summer when we get the results of the test, but I think what Susan did and Julie, they purposely put AP on second and third quarter, so that way they're getting really intense AP instruction right before that test comes. So some are saying we may actually end up having more that, so I'm gonna let the data speak to that, because I do think we all have our preferences and everyone is out there has different preferences. I'm gonna hold off and look at the data when it's all said and done, but that doesn't help us right now.
Well, and if I can just jump in a little bit, I've been checking in with our AP teachers just to see how they feel things are going with the instruction. Are they keeping on track with where they normally would, especially given that we on the AR Fridays. And right now they feel, at least from the teachers that I've been speaking with, they feel that they have been able to keep on track with the pacing of the curriculum. They're at a good spot. Last semester, last quarter, one of the teachers felt like, you know what, I need to have my whole class in on the AR Fridays. And so 2 of the AR Fridays, she had her class in because she wanted to keep up, and she felt, and her class showed up on those AR Fridays. So the teachers also feel that when they know that they need to bring their class in, to be keeping on track with the pacing, they do so. And we also are planning for AP test prep sessions as it comes closer to the AP exams, because we want to make sure that kids are in the best spot possible. So I just wanted to add that in.
Thank you, Susan.
Just to refresh my recollection, I know January was a little unique because of already scheduled days off. Are we doing this every other Friday, or are we doing it every Friday?
It would be every Friday, yeah. And it comes to 3 Fridays in February because we have 1 off for a teacher in service right now. So it'd be 3 more Fridays in February.
What if you went to every other Friday? So they felt like they still had some time, but some of the kids who really need more instruction, need more in-class time would still get it.
We talked about that, and the thought that came out of it, but you guys are, was consistency is better. So if I know this is what it is, we just keep it that way. And is the way there was, I forget if it's February, I have to look at the dates. It would kind of work out that you could do 2 on and 2 off. But we weren't sure for parents that had little ones if it was easier one way or the other.
Just looking at the surveys from the last time, the majority of teachers wanted to continue the AR Fridays, and parents, it was pretty close. between 5 days and AR. So I don't know, because I'm for normalcy for kids, but then we have to look at what the parents and teachers are saying. I'm looking forward to hearing what students say about it.
And I'll be the first one to say, I'm looking forward to it being 5 days and this not being a conversation anymore. And I guess I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't think there were multiple facets. And I think it's some of our students, I think it's some of our staff, I think it's there's not one, I would say that we're doing it because of this. I think there's probably 3 or 4 good reasons on where we're at. When it's all said and done, you know, you heard about the exact path and all the other things. I think we're going to show that the things we're doing are going to have a lot less gaps than what other districts are doing. And right now, I'm a little bit of a superstitious individual too. There's good vibes, there's good mojo. You know, the staff feel like they're in a good groove. You know, and I wish I had more that I could talk about the students piece, but when I see 99% of the grades in our special ed department passing, it's showing me some of those other things are being positive too. So
I really hope that if we do this one more time and we're done, you know, if they can roll out vaccines to our most critical people or people that want it, and we're in a better place. Hopefully March is irrelevant.
I think kids having to be quarantined can be really difficult and challenging. And if being in school, you know, having that AR Friday mitigates that just a little bit, maybe it's worth it for that. Because it's one less day they could be exposed. I don't know.
Trading one day for 7 is a win.
Yeah.
there's no right answer, you know, and even in Chuck, I know there's a lot of districts that are saying we're 5 days, but if you dig into it, some of them are like they're taking days off here. There's a lot of different ways that districts are trying to, and a lot of it has to do with staff pressures. So I'd be curious to say, have you increased your professional development days? And by increasing your professional development days, those are days that kids aren't getting instruction at all, where this is actually a piece where kids are getting instruction just virtually, and I think we're doing a nice hybrid of give you some more time, but let's make sure everybody's getting what we need to learn. So I can tell you every week I talk to the other superintendents in the county once a month, and I can tell you it's all over, and everyone's doing a little bit different. So we started off trying to be similar, and I can tell you we're all very different now.
So really, we're talking about 3 days.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons that we moved to continue in January, the additional 2 more days off,
Right.
was the teacher burnout. Because, you know, I can't imagine what that would be like to be doing 2 programs there. But now we have increased virtual learning that has gone up percentage-wise. Do we still need to be concerned? I mean, is it worth the 3 days to keep the teachers able to keep both of those houses going? You know, consistency with the kids, it's what they're used to right now. Would it be worth to take one of those days if we do 2 on and 2 off? You know, I don't know. I think we might get more bang with our teachers being able to continue at the pace they're going.
It's making it manageable for them.
Right. And again, you know, consistency for them too. So it doesn't affect anybody that, you know, like my kids, so I don't have that personal.
I know.
So.
And honestly, when we had this conversation in December, I felt, and maybe that's my rainbows and unicorn, I thought between the vaccine rollout and a little bit of a bump after the holidays, that it would really quiet down. And those two things haven't happened. It's been this steady, and it's been interesting just how steady it is on a daily basis. And I think it's that continual contact tracing. It does wear you down. You know, every day we have staff members going into classrooms. Who's this person sitting around? Who's here? Where are you sitting at lunch? You know, until our staff have the vaccine, they know that this is actively in our classrooms and in our schools, and it's another way to reduce it. So,
Well, and not only that, living in that moment, as you're trying to teach, trying to pay attention to where everybody is, because when that question comes back a week from now, or 4 days from now, who is sitting by who? That underlying has to be accounted for, you know?
it's a different year, that's for sure.
So do we have any sort of consensus here that February looks like January, or?
I would say keep it the same. Right now, it's the norm. It's the norm right now. Keep it the same. One more month. We look again where think of everything that's changing in just the next week.
So is there a meeting on the 15th next month? Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean all this is gonna go away after the 20th? Right?
No, let's just get through the week.
Chuck, you know exactly where I'm going with that. No, it's just, there's so much in the air right now, and this is the normal. Right now, this is the normal. Why change it? To me, when I hear all the equities, it seems to be typically having this extra day here seems to do probably a lot more good than bad.
And the other thing we haven't mentioned is this new strain that we hear in the news and what that is and how it is, and
We all know what the next week is going to have.
exactly. So I mean that's another question mark that's out there that we don't know what that means, or I don't even know. Just it's news that's out there.
I'm encouraged by what Susan said about that the AP classes did come in. I don't know if before that email was written if that was occurring, but if that can continue to occur if it's deemed necessary.
And maybe
Yeah, or that
that's-
teachers are following up, and especially with kids that are struggling, like they're supposed to be making phone calls on Fridays and following up with, students and parents and making sure these things are being taken care of, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm sure there's data from the first semester or first quarter to the second quarter to reflect that they had this extra time to make sure that the struggling kids are where they're supposed to be. Obviously, you maybe don't have that yet, it just ended.
And we'll have success rates. And so one of the things I have for next month is, and Susan and I talked about it today. What did it look like first quarter last year before any of this happened to first quarter this year? And we'll kind of look at some. some staffing down, we probably would close the slots in the high school. And because of where our numbers are, we would actually probably eliminate, we still would need almost a halftime person just to get up to our middle school. And we'd need almost another, if we take those 10 spots, we'd have 0 spots open at all. So that was, and these, I would say these are DPI recommended it helped us for projecting enrollment caps. I would say a caseload of 9 or 10 that's a good one, and the numbers in our special ed department fluctuate so much. So this year we could have 10 spaces in high school, next year it could be that in middle school. Our students, it's hard to make sure we have great staff that are in these different areas, but then also knowing that our students sometimes come to us and before we know it, we have a student who is a very intensive individual that could take up all 10 spots just because of how much work it would take for a staff member. So it's a numbers game that's always tough to figure out.
So are we counting a high-need child as more than one slot? Or
Not right now, no.
how do we get those numbers to work out the way that Gina's talking? I mean, do we truly have 10 or do we not have any?
I mean, I would hate for you guys to come back and say we need to hire in the elementary and middle school, but the high school would, we didn't fill those spots, but.
Yeah, we wouldn't be hiring any spots. Or we did fill those spots with someone that came in and now we can't use you're saying, so, like, some of the higher costing special needs, I don't know, is vision one of them? Right, yep.
So someone from out of the district could come in one of those 10.
Right.
So what were our numbers last year? Does anybody have access
For
to
open
that?
enrollment, you mean?
For this, what did we project?
The projection for last year.
Yeah.
And what actually happened.
Right.
Give me 1 second.
And Chuck, you.
Yeah, and I may be missing something here, because first of all, I think special education is unbelievably unique, and I give all the credit in the world to those people that can teach. But I'm just kind of flipping it this way. If we have 10 open spots, is there any way we can go and solicit? And we have a shortage of students here that we can, is that something we want to do or not want to do?
I would say no, depending on cost, because you don't get reimbursed. Like I said, a vision is a very expensive special needs, and you don't get that money. You get X number of dollars.
So it's a loss financially to solicit.
It can.
Like going out of the district and say, hey, we have some open spots. If you have the students, that could be a cost.
Well, if somebody applies,
right,
that costs a lot of money, you can't necessarily tell them no because they cost a lot of money.
Right. We would leave those.
So we're getting a flat rate regardless, so it's not like more fund money available anywhere for special ed.
Right, and we used to be able to slot.
This is how we used to do it is, okay, cross category, we used to talk the visually impaired, because we didn't have anybody that, we didn't have a staff member that was visually impaired, we were able to put that at 0. Now they're telling us to just go straight caseload per school.
So you can't say the really high cost ones, we don't have staff for it. So you could get into a pretty big pickle, potentially.
You don't want to go solicit students. Okay.
And then that's what I'm thinking is 10 is awfully high.
I was just looking at an opportunity to grow our enrollment.
Right.
That was a scary one.
So what is this showing us here?
This is how we did it in the past. So we broke it down by grade, by disability area, and then we would have how many spaces were available. So, you can see in EC4K we had 6 spots. In cross-categorical we had a few spots. That white column showed where we had spots and where we didn't. And I guess, again, I get what you're saying, Gina, is to say, you know what, if we were to, for just our current staffing, move the high school down here, it would actually reduce the number of spots that we would have and kind of go from there. So I get what you're saying.
Okay, because I don't know.
Yeah, no, you were clear.
I mean, obviously, we provide a great special education program. We have for quite a long time.
Right, yeah.
But we need to provide for the kids in our district first. And, if those people want to move into our district, we'd be more than happy to help whatever special needs that they need. But to bring in students that aren't living here, it takes away from the students that are. That's the way I see it.
Well, especially when we're looking at the staff numbers, and
Right.
it sounds like we need that support at other grade levels.
So, can we say we don't have any? Is that prudent to do? Do we?
I'm just doing and actually, we have the staffing we have, so if we were to recalculate this, and Alicia, if you can kind of, okay. So we're 7 divided by 7.
Right.
Be able to use the resources that you have to educate those students, right? So,
But can that person do all those levels? I don't.
Right, and that's-
I don't know how practical that is.
So, by rights, according to what we have here, we are short 0.78 staff members in the elementary and 0.4 in the middle school if we were to go straight cap numbers, and which is more than a full-time person. So, by that, if we were to say our staffing, we would be closed at all 3 levels, is kind of what this would be. So,
Because that would take us down to 24, and so we'd still be over in the high school as well.
right, yeah. Yeah, because actually, our elementary middle combined are 1.18 understaffed according to this. Does that sound right, Alicia? Are you doing the same?
So what do you think, Alicia?
I mean, I think that closing it could be, it could be beneficial, much like you guys were saying, where let's look at the students in our district first. But then, do we want to try to bring in more students? But again, then we're running the risk of getting a high needs, high cost student that could potentially cost our district a lot of money. So if we do close which makes sense as well, if we do the calculation that Mike just did, I could totally see that as well.
And I think in the past, we have open what we have open, and.
Well, I think that's more manageable.
Right.
Where this, we're just,
Yep.
throwing darts.
Right. So if we were to reallocate this out, we would go to, and I can say, the sheet would have, we'll say there's 2.6 elementary and 3.1 middle, and then 2 high school, and then we would have 0 available across the board.
Do we have with the staff that we have, are they convertible to these needs, or does the care of the kids not supported by that?
Well, the thing that's the toughest about this is we're making enrollment predictions in February, and these numbers are going to change drastically between now and summer. So I'd be very comfortable to say that we can cover this, but I can tell you it's probably not going to look like this when we get to September 1. So, and that would be, one of the things, because we'll get either students moving in or being identified between now, because right now is where we're really identifying a bunch of students that are needing these extra supports. So I'd be very comfortable saying okay, we're staffed 100% with the kids we have, and, we'll see what it looks like in September.
I know we have to
And
do this now. Can
we do know-
revisit?
Sorry.
Ooh, go ahead.
We have to do this now, but can we revisit in summer and adjust the numbers if we have
Yes.
something very different?
Well, we don't, we can do this now, and in summer, if we need to readjust, it's not like we even have to redo it at the board. If we have to make changes, we just make the changes we need to.
No, I mean, like, to open seats.
Yes.
If we decide to open seats.
Yeah, so if a bunch leaves, say there's nobody because we reallocated here, and now a family moves out and there's seats that open up, then it would open up. We would just say, these are the numbers that we have at these different levels. That make sense? Alicia, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I know for sure we have one student at the elementary school that went to the virtual academy. So we do run the risk too of students coming back to us after, let's say, the virtual academy didn't work out. They are still in our district, so they could also be coming back, which adds numbers that way too.
I just feel more comfortable since we can't choose, what we can handle, that we just handle what we have.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Okay. So, do I have to get you a new document? So, I guess the board has to make an approval that we reallocate, and at this time, there's 0 spaces available for open enrollment in elementary, middle, or high school. That would be,
That's all.
that's all you have to do.
Just make a motion.
Yep, okay.
Anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Jennifer and Brian?
Who's first?
Jennifer will be the first,
Okay.
Brian the second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right,
Thank you, ladies.
thank you. Approval of the agreement with Neola for the administrative guideline services.
So we have an opportunity right now, Neola has frozen their prices. We won't be starting this till summer. I don't even know if I want to think about doing administrative guidelines right now, but it is the next step after policy, so can't procrastinate forever. So with having this here and looking forward to the summer, just need a board action that we're moving forward with that next step of policy. I don't know if you wanted to,
I'm ready.
you ready?
So you're making that motion? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Considering we took half our stuff away.
Amy, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The 2019-2020 audit. Did anyone have any questions for Patty? Did everybody enjoy the reading? Hey, I brought mine back, so.
Did you?
Yeah. Just
We got
in case.
dinged on the normal ones that we did, but they did acknowledge that we had tried to do some small things again this year, try to get a little bit more segregation, so they did acknowledge that this year that we're trying. There's only 3 of us, so. But,
Yeah, I thought you did a really nice job of taking that book and putting it into a little piece of the paper, so very nice, very succinct.
It's not easy.
You should talk to the auditors, maybe they could get it
Yeah,
done.
They get paid by the word.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, so we can move on from that. Discussion and update of the 2020-2021 budget. I think I got enough 20s in there.
everybody should have gotten a copy. I did the second quarter. You can kind of see that we should be at 50%. And we are staying where there's some items that are over and those are explainable. We'll get out of a better picture in the third quarter of where we're at, but right now I'm pretty happy with where we are going.
Does anyone have any questions for Patty?
You said the overages are explainable or whatever, so like the 400 and 500 lines on that page, I was just curious on the overages on those.
That's the Industry 4.0 and the Fab Lab, and we did not get the grant money for that. So that's why we are showing that we're so much over. Those are both in this year. So the way that works is I don't put the budget in until we receive the money, and then it should shift that we're more in line.
And those grants, you have to spend the money and then share with them your receipts, and then you get the money. And I spoke to the guy today, that's something that'll be done here in the next week or so as we keep moving. We have 2 years to submit those, but don't worry, we'll get it done this year.
Gary, do you have a question? No? Oh, okay. You're just waving at me. Anything else?
Rini had a good question that I just want to kind of highlight because she gave me a call today and said, hey, explain to me on Fund 10, 21, and 27 how with the reduction of staff, you know, we went down at administrator, we had a couple other spots that we didn't fill. How is it that salaries are actually going up when we're cutting positions? And I sat there for a minute and I didn't know how to explain it. And actually, this is what you're seeing is from our busing situation. So by, you know, one of the things we're trying to do is reduce our contracts and some of those other things, find monies and pay our own people. If you go all the way down to the bottom and look at the total budget, our budget is less, but we're actually paying more people more money. So I think that's one of those things that I didn't even recognize till Rini asked me, like, yeah, actually this is one of the benefits that we're keeping the money locally, we're doing this, and now, you know, and you know, for the bus drivers that are out there, and for Rachel, I know she texted me, you know, those things are going great, and it's some of the best money we ever spent with that. So just see the decision you guys are making are having a positive impact on the people closest to us. So. And thanks for bringing it up, because I won't even recognize it if you didn't ask.
I tried to get a picture of it, but I saw a random school bus driving down right through Fredonia. I was sitting there like, oh yeah. It says school district driving like that. Oh.
Every day. Well, and that also includes, you also said bumping up salaries
Yep.
For other staff.
Yeah, so increased salary, you know, those staff, so we're a bunch that leads into that. I wouldn't say there's just one thing, but that's, the bus, the transportation would be one, but then also increased salaries and things we can do for the staff that are here. So.
And do you save money like the last, you know, 8 Fridays or whatever that they've been off? I mean, then you don't have to pay your staff to, you know, transport the students. You don't have to pay for the building costs on those Fridays as well, right? So obviously we're looking at next year's budget.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall this year, you know, there's some cost savings that you're having with some of these things, right?
There is an energy savings by not having the building on for those Fridays, so that is. There is a fuel savings by not running the buses on those, so there are some things with that. Our bus drivers, one of the things was a guarantee of, most districts do this, that when you get a contract, you guarantee you pay. What it used to be is you guarantee to pay the bus company your entire 172 days, but the bus drivers didn't get paid. So we said to our bus drivers, we guarantee you our school days. So they still get paid. But some of them are picking up. We actually, for some of our kids, we're actually sending them out. We're picking up kids to bring them in. So there's still kids here on those Fridays. And we're going out and sending them and getting them.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a day off. It's, okay, these students, there is no excuse why you can't be here. And it's so great with Rachel and her team. Hey, can you pick up this kid, and we can be there, you know, ready to pick you up and bring you to school. So there's no excuses.
Okay. Anything else? All right, good job, Peg. On that audit too. I know those are a pain. We have the WASB resolutions.
Yes, so I did get a chance to look through them a little bit. There's some Some good ones here, and I'll give you to this, Brian, when we're done here. Around broadband, holding harmless, for anything that could happen here. One of the things is that there's been a push around the assessment report cards, just because just taking these tests for test reasons, be nice to not have to worry about that for this year. And another big one is rehiring retired staff and teachers, especially as it keeps getting more and more difficult to find spots. So there's some good ones. There's some, just like every year, some of the resolutions are very specific to individual school districts. But as I look through, there's some in here that would help us. One of the big ones is there's starting to be a 1 cent sales tax added for schools. Is the first time I've seen that come up. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm not a tax increase kind of guy over stuff like that, but that's some of the things that are in this year's resolutions. That, Brian, you get to tell Brian how to vote. I know you are.
So, is there a motion to have our delegate vote their conscience after hearing whatever's presented?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there a second? Matt, any questions or discussion?
These are voted on individually.
At the delegate assembly, after they have discussion on it, so it's hard, because you may be swayed after listening to it.
In Brian, we trust.
I promise you I'll speak on mine.
What, we were worried about that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that's this Wednesday.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, the delegate assembly, I believe, is on Wednesday afternoon, unless they changed it. All right, the expanded and formalized community recreation director position job description. Who is speaking to that? Is that you, Mike,
You
or?
want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. So 11 years ago, we started a position that was the community recreation department, and if we go back, what was the gentleman's name 11 years ago? Matt what? Pavela.
Yeah, that's right.
Did all kinds of different events, had different community, had the fitness center open, and over the last 11 years, multiple superintendents. This job really got boiled down to just keeping the fitness center open. And one of the things that what I found through this process is we never had a formal job description of what we want that person to do, and two, we never really kind of talked about what could it do besides just the fitness center. So one of the things we're proposing is to keep that position, have it do the great things it's doing with the fitness center, maybe some different Zumba classes and kickboxing, but to also be a community lightning rod to help us start energizing what's happening in our community. So if we have junior Rams, and have this person help with the junior Rams with the different sporting events to make sure that it coincides with what's happening at the varsity level. With our different community projects, we have a great with LPI, making sure that we have that person out there that's maybe sitting on the board to make sure that the school district's doing this. Really be kind of like that community resource officer is there for safety. This person would be there to make sure that we're having those conversations and working together. So what you see here is really just an expansion and a formalization of something that's been there, but not just for the school, but for the entire community, and really trying to work at giving our community that Random Lake advantage of, all of the activities that we have to offer here. So I don't even know if there needs to be a formal action. This is a job description. Remind me, Kim, do we have to get into
Yes, we do need an action because we're considering this a professional.
Okay, so we would need that,
To approve the job description.
yes.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the job description?
So moved.
Matt? Brian? Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have notification of paid co-curricular coaches. We have high school JV boys basketball, Andy Spaeth and Jeff Ross. And Lori Reichwitz, is that how you say her name? Middle school boys basketball. And then we have volunteer co-curricular, high school girls basketball, Asia. Informational items?
Okay, real quick, we have 2 spots open and 3 people running, is that how it ended up, right? Okay. So we will have a election, so good luck to everybody going forward with that. Legislative breakfast, this morning, I can tell you not a lot's happening in Madison. I think they're just kind of sitting back right now and see where things are. It was an interesting legislative breakfast. We're fortunate to have the relationship we do have with our politicians, and look forward to working with them more in the future. And also, personally, I've been asked by the Sheboygan Chamber of Commerce to help them with their Business Education Partnership Committee. So one Friday a month, I'll be working with other educators and businesses, trying to continue doing the things that we're doing out here and seeing if we can help it in all Sheboygan County. So been honored to be asked. I thought twice because the last thing I need is to add another meeting, but I think what's good for Sheboygan County is great for our kids, and people like seeing what we're doing out here, so we're going to help others do it and hopefully give our students even more opportunities by doing it.
Great. All right, we do have a closed session on tonight. The board will go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statutes, Chapter 19, Section 1985, 1D, to discuss personnel matters. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion.
Jennifer, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rini?